After 8 weeks of being back into playing Magic, I top baited in my first RCQ ever, and I thought it was incredibly difficult to get back into competitive Magic. And I just wanted to talk about my experience with why I think getting into competitive Magic kind of has a learning cliff instead of a learning curve, and what I think we can do for newer players and how to help introduce more players into the competitive scene, as I think it's a great place to be. But first, my name is Sam. I like to stream competitive Magic on Twitch and YouTube, and if that's anything that you're into, I have a goal to go play in my first regional championship in LA this summer. Would love to meet some of you there and would love to actually qualify for one of those. So if you have any interest in helping me do that, helping me learn to play better, giving your input on Magic in general, would love to chat in my Discord or my Twitch. Would be super happy to see you there. But yeah, without further ado, let me go ahead and get into my journey here. My journey in Magic started when I was a kid. I loved playing Magic. Me and my friends used to only have a little tiny pool of cards to play with. It was obviously a place that we loved to be. We'd love to spend time together. We loved to brew little decks. I remember specifically being able to go over to my friend's house and I'd look through his fat pack box and his other like gift pack box. And I'd say, oh my gosh, do you have any red rares? I'm building a new red deck. And we would just play with what we had. I remember specifically there was a card. What was it called? Let me see if I can. Colossus of Akros. I remember one of us had this card and it was insane. Our games were so long and drawn out. None of us knew what a mana curve was. None of us understood how to do anything. And so we'd always end up having these incredibly long drawn out games, especially because before we even knew what Commander was, we would play games that were 4, 5, 6 of us in a single game all with. And someone had this card. One person had it almost every time it came out. It was just impossible to defeat because we didn't really understand the exile mechanic, all these things. But I just miss those days. And I loved playing it when I was a kid. I started getting a little bit more into it. I loved getting it a little bit more competitive with my friends. I ended up building this Storm deck. Let me see if I can find MTG. Oh, was it this? Yeah. This was it. I loved this combo deck. I remember getting my first like turn 3 win against my friends, or turn 4 or 5 or whatever it was. And it was like the fastest game of Magic that any of us had ever played. And then they said I wasn't allowed to play with that deck anymore, which was sad, but it was funny. And I just began to fall in love with it. And so as I got a little bit older, I was my very first year of high school. Things were getting a little bit serious. And unfortunately, had a little run-in where I got a bad grade in a math class. This wasn't a good experience for me because I definitely could have gotten an A with a little bit more effort. And my father definitely saw this and bless his heart. I mean, I got a B+. It wasn't that crazy, but bless his heart. I have a wonderful relationship with him. I love my dad. We're very close. But in the moment, he got a little bit frustrated with me. And he said, it's because of Magic that you didn't get an A in this class. And that's unacceptable. And so he took my collection and he put it in a metal bin and he lit it on fire. And I had no more Magic cards. And I was banned from playing Magic. And it was so sad. I remember I kept a bulk box hidden in my closet that I pretend I didn't know I had and all this stuff. And I still had some love for the game. I'd occasionally watch a Tolarian Community College video. And it was just kind of on the back of my mind until one day, good 8 years later after Theros block, I was married and I was an adult. And I could do what I want. I'm 23. I said to myself, I'm going to go to the card store and I'm going to play some Magic. So I got on Facebook Marketplace. I bought a new deck, Commander deck, refreshed myself on the rules, and went to my first local game store event. It was like a Tuesday night. Spent 20 minutes looking for a pod because I'd gotten there a little bit late. But once we had a game going, it was awful. I had a terrible experience. My cards were incredibly underpowered. I felt like my deck didn't do anything. I was just getting steamrolled by all these players who had optimized for everything. And I was so frustrated. I said, oh my gosh, why does this suck for me? Why can't I just buy a deck that Wizards of the Coast made, actually just play the game and like have a decent shot at doing something? I didn't get a chance to do anything. I got like 2 creatures down the whole game. I was sad. I was frustrated. So after the event, I went online. I looked up and said, how much does it cost to make a good deck? Look at this. We could pull it up. Let's just go. Look, there it is. I've Googled it in the past. Look at this. We're talking $500 to $1,000 to make like a really good Magic deck? Are we kidding me? And then there's budget decks and there's lots to get into there, but I was so sad. I was like, wow, I seriously have to just deal with this. Like that's so sad. Like, I don't know why. It was sad for me. Wow, the gate to get into this format is so expensive. And I didn't like the 4-player format. I didn't like the politics. And I personally, and I get a lot of people do, but I didn't love the whole, you have to do what your deck is supposed to do to enjoy the game type feeling. I looked into other things. I said, what can I do? What can I go play at? Friday Night Magic. A draft. Oh, the holy grail, the thing I'd always wanted to do as a kid. I was only able to do it once with the Zendikar set. I could finally go and play a draft. My parents would never take me to a card store when I was younger. I got there like 4 or 5 times ever my whole life. But I could go play in a draft. I thought to myself, this is perfect. I don't need any new cards. I can play competitively on an equal field. I have a real shot. And I went and I opened a bunch of avatar cards. Why are there avatar cards in my Magic games? I don't know what was going on, and I went 0-3. I'd watched a few guides. I had 17 lands. I had the right amount of spells. I had a good curve, and I just got destroyed. And no one was like, I don't know. It just felt like I was getting like a little bit of a soulless kind of experience. I was like, man, I feel like I'm kind of losing the love of the game here a little bit. I was supposed to have a good time. Maybe I'll win one, whatever. No. Destroyed every game. And granted, you could say it's a learn by fire, it's a learn by learning curve, whatever you want to call it, but it was sad for me. And I didn't even realize until after that jumpstart packs were a thing. And then, I'll get into this in a second, but I started getting a little bit more into it. I started bringing a friend along. We'll call him Noah. And this is kind of where my case study really continues, as not a version of myself, but as a version of him. Liked the game of Magic. He had played it a couple times in the past. He had borrowed some commander decks at a casual pod, and he kind of enjoyed it. So I said, hey, you should come to a draft with me. And he's like, oh my gosh, that sounds so much fun. But he went 0-3. I went 1-3 or 1-2. And it was like, what did we do? What was so frustrating? And I felt bad. There was like I remember I finished one of my games early. And I went over to watch my friend play. And it was his second game. The opponent was already up 1-0. They were both 0-2. So this is my third game of the night. I'm done. I'm just watching my friend now play. And he's a little bit newer to the game. And I think that's fine. I think we should encourage new players, and mistakes happen, whatever. But he had his opening hand. He had one land down. It was his turn 2. And he didn't have a turn 2 play, but he had a turn 3 play, and he had a land in hand. So he said, oh, I don't have anything to do. I'll pass. And halfway through the opponent's turn, he was like, oh my gosh, I forgot to put a land down last turn. Can I do that? And his opponent looked at him blunt in the eyes and was like, no, I will not let you put a land down. This is not a competitive event. There's no prizes. There's no prize pool. There's no, we're both players are 0-2. We're fighting over the consolation pack that they're both going to get. It just didn't make any sense to me. And it was so sad to watch my friend go through this experience where he's going to just lose this game outright because he just made a silly mistake when it's his third time ever playing. That was sad to me. I was like, man, that's kind of rough, because now I have to be on the prowl to really look after my own stuff and make sure I'm in the right and I know what's going on and I know the rules and blah, 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 blah. And it kind of felt like it was uninviting to new players. We got the Final Fantasy starter decks and we were playing against each other after the fact. And I was talking to him, I was like, so how did you, enjoy this experience? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, honestly, it was kind of rough, just losing. And I felt like I was dumb to ask questions. When we were playing just with the Final Fantasy starter decks, and I think we did a little jumpstart game too, it was awesome. I helped him remember his triggers. I helped him remember all these things. And so we had a wonderful time, and it was a very even match. But when it was him versus the Wild, it was just awful. It was like a slog. It was just not enjoyable. I wasn't enjoying it as much as I wanted to. And so I went home, I downloaded MTG Arena, I started doing some practice drafts, and I had to really dial myself in. And then I started, consistently going 2-1, 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, whatever at my drafts. My friend, he just went to another one with me, and I brought another friend of his that had barely played the game. They were just so excited, open a couple packs and look at the cool cards, and they both went 0-3 again. And I was so sad for my friend Noah. He's like, man, it's kind of sucking. He hasn't come back to do another draft with me since. He wouldn't come play Turtles pre-release with me, which, granted, he didn't have any interest in Turtles. I don't care about Turtles. I just like the sealed format. But it was frustrating. And I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about why I think competitive Magic has such a wall to break into. I made a goal after my first or second draft that I wanted to win some sort of tournament, and I set my eyes on the regional championship in LA. Not to win, I want to go play in that tournament. So I want to win an RCQ, which is where this came from. I didn't win it. I top 8'd, got relatively close, but didn't work out for me this time. That's fine. You know, I'm still learning. It was my very first one. I'm just happy with how it went, but it's so hard to get involved in the competitive scene. You either need a crazy, crazy strong deck, meaning, you know, like if we go look at standard, right? Standard decks right now to do something actually on meta to like really kind of have a chance here. You know, you're looking minimum $200, and that's if you just love mono red, you know, play creatures and attack as fast as possible is fine. You know, we like Hexling Squelcher. I opened one of those, funded one of my drafts, thanks. And I'm at the point too where it's like, I'm in college, I'm recently married, I don't have thousands of dollars to like burn on buying decks. Like in the upcoming RCQs, they're going to be modern, right, this next season, and it gets even worse. Like really, like for me to have some sort of competitive deck, I'm looking at a bare minimum of $400 after shipping. If I want to choose kind of an archetype I enjoy, we're looking at maybe 500. I decided on Eldrazi Tron, right? I was like, I really don't love Izzet Prowess. I don't love, you know, Ruby Storm. So I've been playing a lot of, you know, Eldrazi Tron, kind of doing as much as I can with that, and it's been sad. Like even on MTGO, I downloaded MTGO, I rented cards to learn the format. I don't have $4 to spend on every game to just lose over and over, right, while I'm learning the deck. And then the saddest part was I queue up for a casual game 9 times out of 10. I queue up, I go in, I play a Tron land, instant forfeit. They say, oh, I don't want to play competitive decks. Where am I supposed to learn how to play this? Like, I'm a new player. I am actively engaged in trying to get involved with the competitive scene, and it is very hard to do so. Why? You know, like the most wizard supported format for MTG for Magic to play on like a device or computer, right? It's Magic the Gathering Arena. Arena does not have modern. There's no modern in Arena. And like, if you look up the new RCQ, okay, the qualifiers for this year, these events, yeah. So for the upcoming regional championships, they're going to be featuring modern constructed. And the only ways to qualify for these are through sealed limited events, like you open 6 packs, or you have to win a modern thing at your local game store, which I'm in an area where it's relatively competitive. We have a good scene of people. There's a lot, like there was a very good amount of people at my RCQ. Very happy about this. How am I supposed to play this game? I gotta spend $500 on a deck I've never even played before? It's wild to me. I really don't understand how anyone who would really want to get involved with this game could actually do so in not even like a smooth manner, but like without overcoming a huge wall. Because I see any player that's getting involved in Magic in the interim, right? Like, it's so hard for them to get like really involved. And if you look, I watched the last Pro Tour, Lorwyn Eclipsed. Every single person there had already qualified at like 4 Grand Prix and blah, 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 and like so many things on their belt for, who was I watching that like top 8'd? It was this guy. I was watching this guy play this guy. No, not that one. This guy, Eduardo. Really cool deck. You know, I thought that they were both fantastic players. This guy has been playing Magic Pro Tours since he's been commentating since 2010. Which is fine. I get it. All the very best players are going to have a very long play history. I think that's a very good and healthy thing. However, I feel like as I'm looking at this, it is almost impossible for me to come kind of out of the woodworks just as someone interested in like potentially do well. All of them have massive play records, which you should. I'm not saying this is bad. I'm not saying like, oh, they should have a noob in the top 8 of the Pro Tour. I just mean in a sense of like, man, like that's a lot. And for me to get involved and like actually do well in standard on MTGO, it's going to require me to farm thousands of cards and pay hundreds of dollars to open packs. Or if I want to go and do it in my local game store, I need to drop $500,000 on a deck that I have to learn I don't know. It's just like I have to commit to a deck before I even really know if I like it. It's just like, it's a lot. It's a lot to ask of new players. And so I just wanted to shed light on one thing that I have liked. I don't want to leak anything, but there was one instance where I joined a Magic competitive Discord, and I had dropped in this chat. I said, hey, like I'm really interested in playing in these RCQs. Like, how would you recommend doing it? And someone said, oh, like let me loan you a deck. So kind to the people that have offered that multiple times to me. I just find that sad that like the Magic community is in their goal to be as inclusive as they can be and like help new players as best they can. We're down to like loaning a lot of cards out to people. I don't know where I'm going with this. My only point is it is a massive learning curve for anyone to like really play Magic. And they have the jumpstart kits, and they have, you know, the dual decks kind of. They had the Final Fantasy one that I saw, but there's such a disconnect between brand new player to like actually playing, starter player to FNM to like, you want to play at an RCQ and do well, you have to be so good. You have to be so good. Unfathomable to me. It's crazy. And I'm still going to do it. I love it. I've loved the journey so far, but it's just an interesting place to be. And so if you have any thoughts or you have any opinions, would love to hear them either down in the comments or in my Discord. I could be totally wrong about everything I just shared, but I feel like my experience as a new player has just been, you know, a little daunting. And I feel like if I wasn't incredibly determined and I didn't already have a long history with the game, I would never be interested in playing at a competitive event. So if you disagree with that, would love to know what your thoughts are. And yeah, I'll finish this video here. Join the Discord down in the description. Catch me on Twitch. Have a good day.